It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us. We're going to be kicking off the show right away, talking about the economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday issued out a directive saying that all banks in the country have to close all cryptocurrency-related accounts, and that has puts a lot of people in in a state of sort of confusion and trying to understand where we go from here, because cryptocurrency is becoming a huge part of conversations around the world. And based on a lot of statistics, Nigeria has been ranked either second or third in the world with regards to transactions related with cryptocurrency. So it's a heavy part of our conversation in the country these days. And to hear that directive has thrown a lot of people off, and we're going to try and understand what that means for the economy and what that means for people who have been trading in that space going forward. I had with me Gospel Obele. Thanks for being here today. So like I said, let's just start from the jump. Help us break down the meaning of this directive from the central bank saying that, the Bitcoins and all of the cryptocurrency space can't be traded here in Nigeria anymore. What does that mean?
So it just primarily means that all transactions and engagements within the crypto space, all right, with commercial banks and other financial institutions, fintechs and the likes, have been banned for now. That's the assumption.
Yeah.
So it would go a long way to, of course, disrupt a lot of activities in terms of crypto dealers, crypto markets, and even businesses who leverage all of these mechanisms to sort their supply chain and all of that, and many other reasons why people adopt, the crypto in the first place.
So, for those who don't know, what is cryptocurrency, and why? How did we get to this point where it has become, where government has had to put a word into that space?
So just like initially where we had the trade by barter system, all right, the means through which value is being exchanged has evolved, all right. Moved from that to cows and all of that, and then using coins, and then had paper currencies and the like. So now we're in a situation where there's an emergence of cryptocurrencies, and they are majorly Bitcoins and two other major types like that. And the idea is these currencies move through digital payment platforms, or they are more of detailed payment platforms where people can sort transactions and all the likes. Now, it's not accepted yet as a legal tender, in terms of as medium of value exchange globally, as a lot of institutions globally are also seeking to understand how that process works. And as such, regulations, even by the IMF and a lot of institutions like that, have not been set in place to manage that space properly. But because it's digital, or of course, and there are no limits to how much transactions and how much can be done in that space, all right, people have sort of leveraged it, especially for nations especially for stakeholders in the countries like Nigeria, where we cannot afford to have access to FX and a lot of other things. So people have found it as a medium to hedge for currency risk, to sort payments through supply chains and all of that, and many other interesting engagements in that regard. So it's not yet certified as a legal tender, but it's as how would I put it now? Presented itself as a good means through which people can exchange value, all right, in the global market space, especially when it comes to do with borderless transactions and the likes. But then it comes with its ups and downs, and the goal is just to see how we can juggle both, to make sense of it.
So if it's a digital trading space, how then do physical banks get involved? How did they get into the conversation with regards to you being able to go in and get money? And why is the CBN now worried about that?
So in terms of transactions now, a lot of transactions move through those spaces in the digital space and all of that. And then secondly, there are also convertibility questions around it. Okay, so when you have a Naira and you want to convert to a particular dollar, convert to a particular currency, and probably the goal is to sort a supply issue in another market externally. Those monies are converted through crypto means, to access the end means, which is probably a product or a service or something like that. And then the other conversion goes on in the other markets. And that's the point to which this value of exchange is being done. Yeah. So yes, banks get involved because transactions are largely moved through financial and non-financial institutions and all that. So you cannot go through that value chain without having to deal core with the financial institutions, be it deposit money banks or other financial institutions in
So
the
what are your
space.
thoughts on this directive by the central bank? Because there are people who I've seen several arguments online. People saying, oh, well, this is a terrible idea. This is the future of commerce, of financial transactions and all of that. The world is moving in this direction. Nigeria should not be moving backwards. There's also the conversation about how this has become hijacked, for want of a better word, by people who are using it for illegal means and all of that. What are your thoughts on this, and what is a valid reason you think would have been for this to have happened?
Okay, so you remember during our last conversation, I had mentioned that the way the world is now structured, all right, countries who are the lower rung of the developmental ladder would always suffer a major hit in terms of any major changes that happens in the world today. All right. Now, with the advent of the crypto and all of that, and with the impact and all that, as we discussed earlier on, we found a situation where, countries like ours are not strategically ready to engage in terms of this technology disruption in digital payments and the likes. What would have happened is probably in the last decade, because this conversation has been on for a long time, the CBN could have probably invested in trying to understand what it means and how we can adopt intelligently. Because, however, there are still loopholes to this thing that even the global monetary institutions are trying to understand. So it's still in the process, but significant resources and time could have been invested in it just to understand how the process works, and then create intelligent guidelines and process through which financial and non-financial institutions can adopt these changes. So, but what we say now is an outright ban, which is the same case we saw for the closure of borders and the FX restrictions and the likes. And all of these things happen because there are severe leakages in the Nigerian economy. So when there are severe leakages with ineffective monetary policy institutions and monetary policy itself, and a gross level of fiscal indiscipline, all right, you have a situation where people would find creative means to leverage globalization and all that technology has to offer to enhance what they do for a better life, primarily.
Yeah.
All right? So it means that technology and the citizens have advanced beyond what our monetary or fiscal policies are providing to us in terms of options and solutions to deal or engage change. All right? So it doesn't make critical sense in terms of economic development and shared prosperity to throw out an outright ban. All right? It could have been probably that you introduce policies in stages, all right, to manage and curtail. Because, just like you mentioned before we started the interview, that if armed robbers are in a particular environment, would you say you may not live there? All right. There are many other forms of illicit capital inflows and outflows all over the world, capital flights and the likes. But the thing is, people are still doing business. All right. Now, people have even found this as an avenue to hedge for currency risk. Every time the Naira finds itself in face with other currencies or alternative currencies, we'll find out that it gets weaker. All right, so people are thinking of intelligent means through which they can maximize opportunities such as this and all that. So I think what the CBN could have done was to have been more proactive, or rather than being reactive with the solution.
Yeah.
All right, our policies have been reactive so far, and they have been patchy. And these policies do not still solve the fundamental problem, which is trying to understand the global digital payment space and how it's fast evolving and also helping businesses make critical decisions, all right? So I think a level of investment should have gone into trying to understand it, first of all, and then managing the excesses in stages so as to protect SMEs and protect those who are using it for what it's supposed to be, and then trying to curtail the excesses.
Well, I think we're joined online now by Solomon CryptoMind, who's the co-founder of EasyChaw. Solomon, if you can hear me, I know that you play a huge part in the cryptocurrency space. What's your reaction to the CBN's directive, and how are you looking at working your way around this?
Okay. So the thing here is the cryptocurrency space is actually quite broad. It's grown beyond the way it was about 5-6 years ago. And talking from the perspective that I've been in this space since 2016, what I understand from what the CBN said was that banks would not be able to come in direct contact with cryptocurrency transactions. So if you can see, so many persons were affected. The people that trade with the likes of Luno, Remitano, and Binance, they were really, really affected. But peer-to-peer traders were not affected in any way. So those were the people that this whole thing affected. And I would really say, coming from the side of CBN, I feel they were actually very much misinformed about this whole narrative of cryptocurrency. And those paying the dear price for it are those that don't have enough knowledge about the whole cryptocurrency ecosystem. But for the traders that have been in this space for at least 3, 4, 5 years, we are not bothered about it because our transactions are still going on very, very well. There are so many other means that we can use to get our funds. And in fact, for someone like me, I don't really have my stash in the Naira account. Most of my stash is in the USD Theta, which is something that all cryptocurrency traders do. And that's the whole idea of cryptocurrency, where you hedge with the US dollar and you can easily trade and move funds in your futures and derivatives trading. So if you ask me, I would say at least someone needs to like inform the CBN and they should be able to draft out better policies that at least can favor everyone.
Yeah. So I hear you, but not everybody who's in this space is able to have the luxury of all of these alternatives or understands it even as well as you do. Because like he has said earlier, this is sort of a new space for a lot of people. There's very sparse regulation around the world. So is it a valid argument to say that, okay, for a sector that is not fully regulated and not fully understood, the central bank is trying to be careful to, make sure that people are safe and their funds are safe. And of course, there's the argument about, the fact that illicit transactions have started happening in that space. Are those valid arguments against letting this work here?
Yes, sincerely. It's a valid argument, but the truth is, it's every new technology. They are the ones that will abuse it. You can't stop that. Once you bring up a new technology, you have people that will be looking for loopholes to use that to scam some innocent persons. And the best way to prevent people from falling in the hands of the scammers is just by educating the masses. So that's why I personally, from last year, I had to put myself out there to educate as much persons as possible. The CBN, on their part, they are trying their best to see how at least they can mitigate the risk that the users face, especially the ones that are low risk and have no idea. So I would say from the CBN side, at least it's a valid argument. Yes, there are so many illicit transactions going on in the cryptocurrency space, but you can't stop that. That's for a fact. You really can't stop that. It's just like money laundering. No matter how hard you try to stop it, some persons will still look for ways to get it done. So you can't stop it. The only thing the CBN can do is to educate Nigerians, educate them such that they can protect themselves from these scammers and they won't fall prey for most of the scam projects coming up because sincerely, there are so many scam projects. And every time I converse with different persons about the cryptocurrency, I found out that there are so many illiterates. If I would use that word, there are so many illiterates and novices in the crypto economy in Nigeria. So I would say the CBN should channel much of their efforts into educating the masses. What we have these days mostly are just traders. Like if you hear the people complaining, they are all traders in the cryptocurrency. Even like, for example, Patricia, they are all traders. Luno, they are all traders. They are not really concerned about the core blockchain technology, where you have some of us that are also traders and we are very much concerned about the core blockchain technology. And this crypto economy is something that can also very much help the banks when you talk of decentralized finance, which is an area I feel CBN should really set their mind towards, like harnessing the power of decentralized finance. It's a very powerful ecosystem that I feel Nigeria really needs.
So what happens to the average guy now in Nigeria who, I'm not in tech, I'm not in financial space, I just have a regular job, but I happen to put some money in there now. With this policy, I'm completely confused. What am I supposed to do now?
Sincerely, so many of them are in panic right now. I have so many persons chatting me up since yesterday. They've been asking, how do I sell my Bitcoins? What do I do now? Because the only way they know how to sell their Bitcoins is via Luno, Patricia, Binance, and some other platforms. And I just had to start tutoring them that they can still do that via peer-to-peer, which is a very easy way. And the whole peer-to-peer is more like you're in a platform and I am in a platform. And you hit me up that you want to sell your Bitcoin, and I simply give you my address, you send it to me, and I transfer from my Naira account to your Naira account. So all the banks will be seeing happening is just money moving from one account to the other. They won't be able to tell what that money was meant for, if it is for a normal transaction or if it was for something else. They wouldn't really know. And that still works, but so many persons don't know about that. And sadly, so many persons sold their Bitcoin at less than the value they were supposed to because of panic and fear. So in a nutshell, this has caused so many persons to lose so much funds between yesterday and today. So many persons have really lost funds, sincerely speaking.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Solomon. But Gospel. There's a lot of talk about the NSAS protests as soon as this was announced, because there was a huge reliance by people during the protest to make payments and source funds and make contributions and donations via Bitcoin and all of those other cryptocurrency platforms. Do you see this as a reaction to that?
I would say not exactly.
I asked that, sorry, because bank accounts were shut or suspended. Any bank accounts that were linked, to the protest at the time were shut down. With cryptocurrency, there was no way to trace anything. So this felt like, okay, let's shut this down completely so that it doesn't happen again. And it almost came at the same time as the announcement that the Lekki toll gate will be reopening. Exactly. So it felt like too many coincidences at the same time.
So I won't say the NSAS protest particularly, because with COVID-19 came a world where how would I put it? There was a rise in economic stimulus. All right. So that was a period through which there was also a hike in weekly cryptocurrency transactions. All right. Nigeria was doing as high as $200 to $300 million per week, on crypto transactions. So, and this was pre NSAS protest, So I think the NSAS protest just hiked up everything, and it was an avenue to quickly exchange funds, and in also in view of funding protests and all of that. So I want to say maybe it's a series of events that are unfolding, all right, and but I don't want to. There are no evidence to back that yet.
Yeah.
However, what I would also want to look at is that we are the economy is sitting on the fence right now, all right, and we are at the verge of a collapse. And that's to say that all of the policies that the CBN has put in place since the COVID-19 period and all of that has been tilted towards expansionary, expanding the economy and enabling recovery. All right. What this will do is that it's going to be a bit more counterproductive and on the expansionary part of what they're trying to do. All right. And it's a bit contracting in terms of they don't agree, and it's incoherent in the sense of things. All right. So, and what would happen is crypto dealers and people who would usually engage transactions on these platforms would have to source them from either the black market, or they'll put more pressure on the dollar that's on foreign exchange markets. And that may affect the price of goods and services, because whichever way it goes, the burden of trying to source for newer payment platforms or processes will be pushed down to the final consumer. And we are back again, all right, to stretching that recessionary impact and all of that on the consumer. So it's a chain of policies that seem to be self-destructive. However, I would want to expect the CBN to be a bit more proactive and considerate in how they engage all of these dynamics. But then again, I don't think the CBN is independent enough to undertake the task.
Are you worried about investments? Because Nigeria has been, crying for the last couple of years. Countries like Ghana are starting to, speed past us with regards to FDI. We're at a position where policy changes and sort of drastic policy statements makes people lose confidence in investing here.
You'll be surprised that Ghana, even Kenya, Rwanda, are getting more of FDI traction than we are, because we are very much inconsistent with our policies. And number two, trying to go back to the crypto conversation again, it has been an opportunity through which the foreign investors and the likes can engage the Nigerian economy and try to secure the value of the currency in the space.
Yeah.
All right. So I fear that it may affect foreign direct investments and both internally and externally. And the idea of capital flights and all of these things. So, but primarily, CBN has to improve in its communication in the sense, because you can't just write a letter and address banks and they put it up there. All right, there has to be more intelligent, deliberate communication. And the idea of trying to ban outrightly doesn't work again. The Nigerian economy is complex and complicated. Until you understand that, complex, complicated, and very vulnerable, until you understand those three dynamics, I don't think that we will be in the space where we can get out of this in the shortest time. So recovery is critical.
Thank you very much, Gospel. Thank you very much, Solomon. I still had so many questions to ask, because even I am just completely boggled by all of this. I'm just wondering what happens now to, the entire space. But thanks for joining us. We'll probably have you back and continue this conversation some other time. We'll take a quick break and be right back. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. Now, for over a year now, we've been talking about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and all of the issues that have come with it, and how the world has completely changed since we got the virus spreading across the world. But in all of that noise, there's still a deadly killer that continues to sort of boggle the mind of everybody, and we still don't have a cure for cancer. And on the 4th of February was World Cancer Day. So because of the COVID and all of the issues, stuff like that gets drowned out. But cancer is still a major killer, and we're going to be talking about that. Of course, the theme for World Cancer Day this year, is "I Am and I Will," and we're going to be talking about the fact that a lot of people still die from cancer. I think in 2018, an estimated 9.5 million people died of cancer or cancer-related illnesses. So I have here with me Dr. Emmanuel Okafor to help us talk about this. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, thank you very much.
So, I mean, cancer is one of those things that we talk about and we've had in our hands, on our hands for so long. This year, World Cancer Day was on the 4th of February. Like I said, it was drowned out, unfortunately, because there seems to be this monster that's raging across the world, but it doesn't make cancer any less deadly. Where are we now with this conversation? Are people still very aware of, what this disease is, what it can do, especially here in Nigeria, and how are we doing with handling it here?
Well, first off, thank you for the opportunity to be on this program. And where we are with cancer in Nigeria now, so far, the awareness isn't optimal as we would like it to be. People know the name cancer. For example, even if I walk to the marketplace and say somebody has cancer, it will still draw the attention of people and be like, oh, cancer, the person is going to die. That's the first thought that comes to their mind. So information concerning it is not optimal in our population, in Nigeria especially. And we would like for that narrative to change, to be honest. Yes.
Why has it been so, I know it's not necessarily your answer or a question for you, but I mean, you're in the medical space. Why has it been so hard to crack? And I'm not talking about cure now, even to find what causes it. Today we hear don't eat this, the next day don't smoke this, the next day, oh, please drink this, and don't drink this. There seems to be so much confusion with regards to how to even approach this disease. Why is that?
The main reason why that is so is because the root of cancer goes back to the codons. That's the instructions in our genes. Now, genes are units that give instructions as to how our cells are formed, and cells being the building blocks of life that make up biological entities. So when we have issues that originate from the codon, the instruction itself that forms the DNA, the information we have as at now and technology is limited in what we can do. But we have made much progress as it concerns prevention in the first place, which is our target. We want to prevent it. That is why you would hear, don't eat this, eat this. We want to encourage certain kind of diets. We want to encourage exercise like doctors have been hammering since the beginning of time. Even though it seems basic, these are the things that can make a real difference in the human body.
Yeah, and I know it's very scary for a lot of people. And I say that because there's a cancer basically of everything.
Yes.
Anything can be. And children are even born with cancer, which makes people wonder, but this child is brand new, hasn't eaten or done anything. What did he do to deserve cancer of the eyes or something, And for a lot of people, there seems to be very slow progress being made with regards to research. You just said now that we've had some advancements. So maybe just point some of those out for me, because I'm thinking, for as long as I've known, if someone has cancer, all I hear is chemotherapy or chop something off for the person to survive. Yes. What have we done beyond that?
Okay, I'm going to start off so that our audience who may not know very much about cancer may have a general idea. Yes. So when we keep talking, they understand better. So what happens in cancer is that there's an abnormal growth of the cells that build the body. So in the body, we have these genes, which are units that give instructions. So they say when to stop growth and when to start growth. So what happens in cancer is that some of those genes that are supposed to say stop growth get suppressed. And then the ones that say start growth, their instructions get changed and they abnormally grow. So what we've been doing majorly for many years is to just give drugs that target rapidly multiplying cells, because these cells are rapidly multiplying. So if we give drugs that target it, it's likely to hit it. But it also causes side effects that we see, like the hair loss, because the cells that produce the hair are rapid dividing cells also, and leads to other complications.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do now, the new technology, as you said, is to try and we're developing vaccines first off that help to prevent virus. There are some certain viruses, some cancers that we know are associated with certain viruses. For example, there is almost no chance of you having cervical cancer, which is one of the major cancers we have in Nigeria, if you do not have the human papilloma virus, HPV virus. So we created vaccines that target this virus and prevent you from having it in the first place. So no HPV, no cervical cancer for you. So we just go ahead to make even drugs that target the cancer cells. So no more just drugs for fast dividing cells. We have drugs that can target the exact proteins in the cancer cells so that the side effects are less. So we're making much progress in that regard.
So speaking specifically about Nigeria now,
Yes.
and looking at how we are here. First of all, healthcare scares a lot of people when you think about having to be
Yes.
in a hospital. But I'm talking about lifestyle.
Yes.
What does an average Nigerian need to do?
Yes.
To live. Like you said, we know some of the basics. Oh, don't smoke.
Yes.
Oh, try not to eat. Try to
Yes.
eat organic food.
Yes.
Drink a lot of water. All of these things
Excellent.
sound very
Talk
simple,
already.
but
Yes.
at the same time, we live in a country where a lot of these things are not necessarily easy. It's a tough space, to survive in Nigeria. What does an average Nigerian need to do, first of all, to be able to live a healthy, hopefully cancer-free life? I know that a lot of it is also hereditary and all of that, but what sort of things should a Nigerian be looking at?
So it's back to basics, really, when it comes to this. When we say no smoking, it's lifestyle adjustments that they have to make. When we say no smoking, they have to look into it and consider the risks and benefits in quotes of smoking. And with smoking, when we say smoking, people think majorly lung cancer. Smoking is a risk factor for basically all cancers, a whole lot of cancers. So it's about modifying their lifestyle, eating food with proper food with fruits and vegetables, because colorectal cancer is also a major cancer in our environment. And aside that, like we said, basic exercise, working out, trying to move your body, and taking alcohol in moderation. Now, we're not saying you shouldn't take any alcohol at all, but we're saying maybe go easy before you take 5 bottles at a time of beer. So that is pretty much what we're looking at. And then aside that, in preventing cancer in people, one major thing also is early recognition of the symptoms and for them to screen ahead of time. So we tell women that they should regularly do the self-breast examinations. There are lots of videos out there to show them how to do. We tell the men, once you're up to 40, 45 years, go and get your prostate checked. Because if we ask the average Nigerian, how many of you have gotten your prostate checked before? Basically, nobody. How many of you have had a look at your colon before to know if you're at risk of colorectal cancer? Basically, nobody. So these preemptive steps are actually the way forward. They are pretty basic, but they are life-saving as well.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that, and thank you
Yes.
for leading me there. Now I'm talking about early detection and all of that.
Yes.
But unfortunately, cancer for a lot of people is a very expensive
Yes.
ailment,
Yes.
to have. And we hear that about 7 out of every 10 deaths from cancer happen in low or middle income households or people. So people who don't have money almost certainly die because they can't afford the treatments that come with it. So how do we get to a point where we are talking about, it being not such a burden financially? Is it ever going to get there? Because for something that's been around for so long, I mean, malaria has been around so long, people seem to find a way to, I get certain pills and I'm able to. HIV and AIDS medication has been subsidized. Yes. Why is cancer still up there?
Well, the major issue we have with cancer is, like I said, the funding for the research, for cancer research, is massive. So the amount of money that goes into developing new products to treat cancer is super expensive, and the pharmaceutical companies have to recover their money somehow. So that is where we have private donors and also governmental institutions to help subsidize some of these medications and some of these treatments. Some of them are already ongoing at the moment. Some drugs are gotten at a subsidized fee. Some treatment modalities are also gotten at a subsidized fee. So all we have to do is just to amp our efforts there until it gets to a point where some of those drugs are even cheaper because, like I said, the pharmaceutical companies have recouped a lot of money that they spent in the research in the first place.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't want to get into the pharmaceuticals and all of that. But I mean, because for a lot of people, it's like HIV/AIDS came, became a big deal. A few years down the line, it's cheaper.
Yes,
to
definitely.
live with it.
Yeah.
With cancer, it's weird how it literally wrecks people's homes financially, and you almost can't get a headway out of it. Where are we with regards to treatments, cancer centers in Nigeria, and all of that? Are you comfortable with where we are in Nigeria with regards to being able to help people who are diagnosed with this?
Comfortable, yes and no. I say yes because we have brilliant oncologists in Nigeria at the moment. We have cutting-edge technology in some centers. But then no, because we have 200 million people in Nigeria. And then how many centers are there? How many oncologists are there? How much data do we have about cancer? We can't influence policy much. We can't create policies through the law and by government to influence maybe helping outcome of cancer patients if we don't have data to back up what we are coming with. So there's a lot left to be done.
There's a lot left to be done.
Exactly. And especially also in terms of, like you said earlier, funding. A lot of people are dying, not just because the chemotherapy regimen is there ready for them, but the sheer money they have to spend in a country where the minimum wage is about 33,000 naira. And you have one drug, some medications, one vial is going into the hundreds of thousands. That is a year's salary for some of them. So these are the challenges that we face. And also early detection is a challenge because we'll find a majority of our people like, I will use the quote, testing it or like enduring it until it gets pretty bad before they present because they're afraid of spending money at first. And then the money they are afraid of spending, they are spending way much more than that in the end. So these are some of the issues that we have here in Nigeria.
What are some of the biggest cancers we have here in Nigeria?
Okay, for the females, we have breast cancer. Breast cancer and cervical cancer are the major, those make up the bulk for the females. And then for the males, we have prostate cancer and colorectal cancer. Worthy of mention, by the way, is the liver cancer and the lung cancers as well. And I'm mentioning liver cancer because there's something we can immediately do about... Which is, first off, reducing the intake of what we call abo over here, traditional herbal medication. But some of them are pretty bad because, some of our people, we don't even look at NAFDAC numbers or registrations or anything. And some of them have very liver toxic materials inside them. We have had several cases like that where this cancer would never have happened if this person's liver was not so much damaged by some alcohol, especially alcohol-based herbal concoctions and all that. But aside that, of course, that's not the only thing that can lead to liver cancer. There's the hepatitis B and C as well. Brilliant thing is that we have hepatitis B vaccination as well. So some of these are practicals that you can, by yourself, sit down and eliminate the cancers you could possibly have in your life. You can actually do that for yourself. You can just say, I'm going to get the hepatitis B vaccination. I'm going to get the HPV, like I said earlier, for cervical cancer. I know that there is almost no chance of these things happening later on to you with the proper lifestyle habits. So,
So basically, stop drinking Agbo, like you said. So check yourself. So because I'm trying to, the ones you've listed now, prostate, breast, liver, and cervical cancer that you've listed are things that can be prevented.
Yes.
And basically just living a healthy life.
Yes.
So with regards to men with the prostate cancer, even the prostate check itself is not cheap as well. And I'm trying to get to medical tourism now and how, in spite of that, you seem to have a lot of people who are flying out. So India has become a very popular destination for a lot of people now to go treat themselves there. Why is it flight tickets and hospital bills and hotel accommodation cheaper than treating yourself here? Is it a question of quality here or expense?
It's not necessarily cheaper to go to India to get treatment. The truth of the matter is that right now where India is in advancement in their cancer care, they offer some services that we do not have at the moment in Nigeria. So a lot of that, a lot of the migration there for medical treatment is due to that fact. But there's also the thing of trust, because unfortunately, many Nigerians have actually lost trust in our health infrastructure. So they want to be assured that they are getting the best. So they fly abroad. Even though here we have some of the best doctors and some of the best in some places, the major issue is that these are exceptions and not the rule, where we have brilliant centers that can take care of their oncological problems, but they end up traveling. So it might be more expensive for them, but many times they're satisfied in their heart that, okay, they're getting so quality of care. But rest assured, there's a lot that we can do in Nigeria here. We may not be able to do everything, but there's a lot that we can do.
Just on the final note now, because you had said that, try and eat healthy, eat organically and all of that. We also hear the argument that processed food can be dangerous for a lot of people, things in cans, things in packs. There's also the argument that agbo, for example, is organic. It's naturally, brewed.
Yes.
So how do you convince the average guy and tell them this is not healthy? And what is organic but unhealthy? So if I'm making sense.
So that is the part what we're trying to work on educating the people. Because, like you said, some even will come to the hospital and tell you, my grandfather used to make abo, my father used to make abo.
And they say they lived forever.
Exactly, and they lived for so long. So the danger with these things is that because there is no regulation, there is no inspection, some of them may have the active ingredients that might cause a change. And so you see that this person took abo and maybe the headache that they used to have, the person is no more having it. But then the content, the proportion of that, in medicine we have dosages, different dosages. And there's a dose that an ingredient will reach that it will cause adverse effects. And you may not know at that time. Just like some of them that are predisposed to, some patients that are predisposed to, not cancer now, let's say something like ulcer, peptic ulcer. And then they take, these ones we see it regularly, they take this abo once again. And some of these abo have NSAID. Okay, this is a medical term. I'm going to go and say anti-inflammatory medications in quotes. The major ingredient in those kind of drugs, they have it in abundant amounts inside that small abo. So once the person takes it, it's like all hell breaks loose in their abdomen. And they don't even know what is going on until maybe they see blood in their stool, or until maybe they see vomiting. So a big part that we have to play is educating the people and convincing them and winning their trust that we're on their side. We're trying to make sure that they even live longer. Like, we want to extend the average life expectancy of Nigerians and do our very best for them, because that is what we work for and that is what we train for.
In one sentence, if you can, are you optimistic about where we're headed with cancer and cancer research and treating and all of that?
I definitely am optimistic concerning, because you see the field of oncology, which is cancer studies, is ever expanding. Like I said earlier, there is so much that can be done. It's a whole new field where new medications are coming in. New methods of treatment are coming in. So I am totally optimistic, and we have very capable doctors, even here in Nigeria, who are advancing it. We may not be hearing of them now, but many people are doing work on the back end to ensure that the ones that have cancer now, we're taking very good care of them, and that cancer is not a death sentence. I have to make that very clear, that it is not. There is so much that we can do, especially with early detection. Right. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel Okafo, and I'm rooting for all of you in the medical space and the research space, because this needs to be in the past at some point, and not, like you said, it shouldn't be a death sentence. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We'll come back right after this break. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. COVID-19 and the lockdown and all of that has become such a huge part of our lives now. And the internet has become a huge part of our lives as well, especially since the lockdowns were issued sometime in March last year across the world. People started relying on, social media and just this viral space for entertainment. And a lot of people have, utilized it very well. We have suddenly Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and all of these spaces giving us so many superstars, and Nigeria, of course, is not left out in that space. I'm joined now by Hope Adabi, but you know her as Dabi Girl. How are you doing?
I'm great.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So what's been your biggest sort of, how do I put it? What has been your biggest draw out since the lockdown happened, with regards to social media, and what have you gained the most since March last year?
Okay, since March last year, basically the first thing is learning how to make TikTok videos.
Okay.
So a lot of people see TikTok videos and don't know how hard it is.
I know, because I've tried. And I've stopped trying.
Some people take days to make those viral videos, you see.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, okay, I can do this. So the lockdown introduced me to TikTok. I'm more of an Instagram person. I know a lot of people were more into Instagram until TikTok came in, and that was my greatest takeout from the lockdown.
And what has that done for you, sort of career-wise or business-wise?
Business-wise, a lot of people didn't know I could act. I could act and just speak to the camera and be fluent with it. So what TikTok did was help me build that as a career, and I got more gigs around that, and people could understand that I could speak about your brand using this and make people be happy or catch fun with it and not even know that it's like an ad.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful for an influencer.
Do you think TikTok is the future? Do you think it's taking over all of these other platforms?
Oh, okay.
So here's why I ask that, because there's a lot of people who are there now, but there's people who also believe it's a certain age demographic who's there, because you've said how hard it is.
Yeah.
You also need a lot of time.
Yes.
So for people who believe that if you're not a career sort of influencer or content creator, as against an Instagram where you can just post a picture and go, or tweet something and go, or Facebook something and go. With TikTok, you need to actually curate
Take your time.
things, and not a lot of people can jump off a bridge or jump off a table at a certain age. Am I making sense? Do you think it's something that's here to stay?
Yeah, it's here to stay. That's certain. It's here to stay, and it's not about a definite age group. That's what we realized during the lockdown. Because before the lockdown, a lot of people thought it was just the teenagers that could jump on TikTok and make videos. But during the lockdown, we started finding out that, you know what? Okay, having time to yourself will make you realize a lot of things. So that made us realize, and a lot of people jumped on it. For example, Yabojo, she jumped on it and she's like fabulous on that app. They love people that DJ. So there's nothing like age group. TikTok is the future because it beats age and the let's say demographic.
As long as you're creative. As
long as you're creative, your video can be watched everywhere in the world, and you can hit that number that Instagram cannot give you. So TikTok is beautiful and is the future. That's what I'll say.
Do you think, though, that there's people who have said that, TikTok has sort of opened this window to shock value? It's almost as if you have to do certain things or be a certain way for a trend or to follow a trend. The silhouette challenge, we all know what happened with that recently, where even TikTok has started taking videos down. There's almost no borderline now for a lot of people with certain things. People enjoy it, but people who are like, okay, where does this end? Do you think shock value is a huge part of where we are now?
Yes, shock value is a huge part. But another thing is, for trends, people forget that it's just like everything else. Some trends are not for you, and some trends are for you. So trend, it's more like, is your personality, what works for you, what content you think is for you. So that's what trend is. So I do not understand why, a lot of people found the silhouette challenge a bit not it or not moral enough for them or what. But people came out of I saw it as people coming out of their shell and liking their body and being able to show it the way they want. So that's how I felt about it.
So you said something that, not every challenge is for everybody, and not some challenges are for everybody. How do you know what to jump on? Let's assume I want to get on a challenge now. I want to grow my platform. I'm trying to, be a creative, and start making money in that space. But I need to know what sort of challenges to jump on. How do you know what goes viral, for example?
For TikTok, I would say for TikTok is divided. You would know already that you're a dancer, or you're into fashion, or you're just a skit maker, or you just make fun, or you talk. So TikTok is divided. That's what people do not know. They just see a trend, and people don't jump on it. But specific people know that this trend is for me. So when it's fashion, it speaks to people like you. When his dance, it speaks to someone else. When his music, it speaks to someone else. So you would know what fits you, because trends represent your personality. So if it fits your personality, then it's for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
How does a young person make money from TikTok?
Making videos that are crazy enough to go viral, and people just want you to have an audience. So it's just like every other platform, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or anything else. You have a platform where people with like minds like you are following you, right? So brands would want that audience. They would want to speak to that audience. They want their products or services to be seen or heard by that audience. So they'll come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
TikTok or Reels?
For me, TikTok.
Why is Reels? Because, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook has been accused a lot of always trying to start up things that are trendy. TikTok started, we suddenly saw Reels. Do you think Reels is doing as well? And do you think it's going to, because more people are on Instagram.
Yes.
Right? So there's more of a reason to just use Reels and make money from there. Do you think that's going to take over?
I don't think so. I think when Nice said photocopy go easy, he meant it when he said it. So people use Reel, and Instagram is trying to promote Reel in a way that you get more views, more by just using that part of Instagram.
Yeah.
But still, people pick their content from TikTok and place it on Reel. So it's still promoting TikTok on Instagram.
So last is still there. What's your social media so we can follow you?
At The Dabby Girl.
At The Dabby Girl.
Yeah, The Dabby Girl on Instagram, The Dabby Girl on Twitter, and on Facebook, and on TikTok.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much
We'll
for
be watching
having
your
me.
videos and
Yes,
keep making
please.
us happy and less, bothered about the pandemic. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Like I always say, you can follow the conversation on Twitter. Rubbin Minds now is our handle. Please use the hashtag Rubbin Minds when you tweet at us. Please stay safe, wear a mask, socially distance, and stay at home if you don't have to be outside. I'll see you next week.